Thank you for joining today's webinar on cloud endpoints and ThinClient Direct. I'm Slim Besrour, and I'll be moderating today's session. I'm joined by Omar Keshrid, CEO and founder of ThinClient Direct, who will be leading the main presentation and sharing his insights on endpoint strategy, hardware innovation, and the evolving cloud workspace landscape. We're excited to show how our solutions can empower the endpoints your teams use to access VDI, DaaS, and secure browsers. So today we'll focus on 4 key areas: securing IT endpoints, simplifying endpoint management, reducing costs, and helping your organization operate more efficiently and sustainably. As our name suggests, we aim to be a trusted source for endpoint hardware, historically known as ThinClients, built for modern cloud workspaces. We'll take a quick look at the history of ThinClients, where they stand today, and then walk you through the benefits and capabilities of what we offer at ThinClient Direct. Feel free to ask questions at any time. We want this to be an interactive session, and we will try to address your questions as they come in. We'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end, so no worries about that. With that, let's dive in and explore ThinClient Direct, how ThinClient Direct, can help you rethink and elevate your endpoint strategy. Here's Omar.
All right, thank you, Slim, for that introduction. For those that haven't met me yet, my name is Omar Keshrid. I'm the founder and CEO of ThinClient Direct. ThinClient Direct was founded in September of 2023, and our focus was clear from day one. We want to help organizations get the most out of their endpoint strategy for VDI, DaaS, and enterprise browsing environments. Before starting TCD, I spent years in distribution. I also spent time on the vendor side. And over that time, I noticed there are some clear gaps in the market, especially when it comes to the endpoint side of the equation, when you're talking about the end user computing market. VDI and DaaS are already on its own, like it's a very comprehensive solution. They involve Windows systems, there's virtualization aspects, storage, servers, networking, there's cloud platforms, and much more. And because of this complexity, most partners tend to focus on the infrastructure, and that goes for the clients. Clients or partners tend to be caught up in the infrastructure side of things, and oftentimes the endpoint gets neglected. And this is the actual device that we connect to, that users use every day. It often gets overlooked. At the same time, many vendors push bring your own device, and one of their selling points is, well, you can access from any device. This sounds good in theory, but in practice, it often creates problems. It creates more problems than it actually solves. So you have security concerns and management challenges because IT teams are forced to support a wide variety of devices and operating systems. So there's a lot more complexity to the mix that they have to worry about. We saw that with many clients, that many of them were left without clear guidance on endpoint strategy, or worse, were receiving advice shaped more by vendor partnerships. I'm close with this partner. I know Microsoft very well, so I'm gonna actually just give that solution, even though it's not well researched. So we launched ThinClient Direct to fill the gap. A hardware vendor that specializes exclusively in thin clients, with deep expertise, not just in the hardware, but also in the software and the overall solution stack. Our mission is very simple. We want to be the trusted partner for businesses seeking unbiased, unfiltered advice to improve their endpoint strategy. And we do this by delivering tailored hardware and software solutions that simplify IT management to the end user experience and maximize efficiency and protect organizational assets. So from the image that you guys see here, our approach is designed to support any VDI or DaaS platform, regardless of the peripherals in use, unified communication tools that are required, the security measures that need to be implemented. All of this with the proper visibility and reporting built in. We're very familiar with the landscape of solutions and can quickly identify what makes the most sense based on your specific goal. And also, given the commodity nature of hardware in today's software-defined approach to ThinClient endpoints, we've carefully selected devices that are both premium and cost-effective, built for longevity and long-term value. So we want to give you devices that are premium, but maybe it's not as big a brand as some of the large vendors, but still they give you amazing value. You may save some money, but you'll make the right choice and be able to keep those devices for a long time. We'll dive into the hardware part shortly, but the key here is that choosing the right device is critical to maximizing the lifespan and ROI of the endpoint investment. I've seen clients be able to keep devices for 10 years, and I've seen the clients be able to keep devices only for a year. And it all comes down to the choice and making sure that they future-proof the investment. So from there, we pair that hardware with the ideal software. Whether it's Linux-based read-only operating system or a hardened version of Windows, tailored to your environment and use case. And we also have management tools. A lot of these operating systems, especially the Linux-based ones, come with a management tool, which allows you to reduce complexity and improve day-to-day operations. Finally, we consider also additional tools or integrations that may be required to achieve your specific goal. For example, some endpoint OS platforms might be very cost-effective, but they can't support things like cameras or Teams. So sometimes you do need a third-party optimization. Or maybe you want to improve workflows, like enabling tap and go badge-based login, or making network printers seamless. Whatever the need, we help you design a solution that works. At the end of the day, our goal is to keep your endpoint secure, streamlined, and easy to manage, so it never becomes the bottleneck or the weak link in your virtual workspace strategy. We want people not pointing at the endpoint. It could be anything else other than the endpoint. Before we jump into modern day cloud access endpoints, or ThinClients as we call them, let's take a quick look at where this all started and why ThinClients developed a bad reputation early on. I talk to a lot of people and they say, I tried ThinClients 10 years ago and it was such a terrible experience. Well, that is true. ThinClients first emerged in the 90s as a really good concept, a secure, simplified way to access centralized computing resources. The idea was sound, lightweight devices connecting users directly to a central server environment. But the internet of 10 years ago is not like the internet today. And enterprise IT was not the same as it is today. It wasn't as robust. So there was limitation in bandwidth, in infrastructure, software compatibility, issues. So users often ran into issues with speed, unsupported drivers, or peripherals, and software that didn't behave the way that it needed to behave. On top of that, early ThinClient models, like the WISE model here that's in the picture, I think that's a V90, they had limited specs. Performance bottlenecks and poor graphics support were common, which ultimately led to frustration. And a lot of times the frustration was directed at the endpoint, and it could have been due to something else. Maybe the infrastructure had issues, there wasn't enough storage, the internet, or the connectivity was bad. But it's very easy to blame it on the endpoint. And I think we've come a long way also in monitoring and visibility tools like Liquidware and ControlUp, which do help you identify what's working and not working in your environment. So through the mid 2000s, adoption remained fairly slow. The concept was still ahead of its time a little bit, but it really picked up in the 2010s. Change started coming, especially as cloud computing matured. And then it dramatically accelerated in the COVID era, where centralized cloud workspaces became not just convenient, but necessary. So in the last decade, the game really has changed quite a bit. Modern ThinClients now offer robust hardware with significantly improved processing power. Yet, they remain fanless. The processor that they use, there's, it tends to be Intel or AMD, but they're processors that don't require a fan because they don't consume as much energy. They're very energy efficient and compact. And actually, the energy consumption of a thin client is a tenth of that of a PC. So very efficient. Something that could be important, especially as energy prices are going up. At the same time, we've seen the rise of powerful Linux-based operating systems that are purpose-built for just cloud workspaces. These are operating systems that are hardened, very secure, and they don't want you to do anything locally on the device itself, but they just want to get you to your central or to your virtualized environment. These platforms prioritize security, simplicity, and centralized management, giving IT teams the same level of control over endpoints as they have over their VDI infrastructure. So you manage VDI centrally. Why not manage your endpoints, your physical endpoints centrally from anywhere? There are environments that still require Windows or Windows IoT, whether by preference or necessity. Sometimes you just can't run a Linux-based operating system because of certain drivers or certain requirements. And there are excellent tools available to lock down and simplify the Windows experience, making it far more manageable at scale. We've also overcome many limitations that held back earlier thin clients, like weak graphics, performance, or poor support for collaboration tools. So today's solutions really can handle these things well. They can handle multi-monitor setups, Zoom, Teams, and other collaboration platforms. They've been taken care of. So they're no longer roadblocks for going for thin clients. So I'm sure just by looking at this picture, a lot of you guys are, having bad memories. So I don't know if you guys remember the July 2024 CrowdStrike incident. This incident brought down airports, banks, factories, and many more, and caused billions of dollars in disruption and damage. And the common thread across all of these outages from this incident is that these devices were all using Windows. And what triggered the issue was actually a faulty update pushed to the devices running CrowdStrike Falcon. Many of those devices affected were just kiosks, just like the one pictured here. These endpoints were running anything complex. They didn't have a complex application running locally. In most cases, they didn't really need to have Windows running at all. I mean, you could say, sure, the patch could have been tested more thoroughly, or there could have been better processes that would have avoided the issue. But this incident shows that how fast things are moving in the real world, and how a single update can bring down critical systems across the globe. And so this brings me to a key point. Why thin clients for VDI, DaaS, or browser-based access should be dumb by design. Dumb is not a bad word when you're talking about thin client or cloud access endpoints. Everything is going AI these days, making everything smarter, but the endpoint's job hasn't changed. It's simply the gateway to the cloud. And if that's all it's doing, it doesn't need to be complex. In fact, the simpler it is, the safer it becomes. Ideally, it shouldn't even need endpoint security tools like CrowdStrike. Updates should be minimal, only required for things like the latest Citrix, Omnissa, or AVD client, or the latest browser update. That's it. We shouldn't have Patch Tuesday or risk of OS level disruptions. When the endpoint is read-only also, and built purely to handle I/O like keyboard, mouse, and display, while all the computing happens in the cloud, the attack surface at the endpoint is dramatically reduced, if not eliminated altogether. I mean, that's what we want to do. We want to get it so that there's no attack surface at the endpoint. So by staying simple or dumb, as we say in the ThinClient world, these devices also avoid the bloat of traditional PCs. They use fewer resources, require less support, and are just inherently more stable. So now the big question, Why choose ThinClient Direct for your endpoint projects? There's so many different choices. There's a lot of people promoting many different solutions out there. So why should I work with ThinClient Direct? The most important reason, is focus. We are specialists. ThinClient endpoints are all we do, period. When you work with us, you can be confident that 100% of our attention is on the endpoint strategy. We're not distracted by servers, storage, or other IT layers. We focus entirely on making sure your endpoints are optimized, secure, and easy to manage. We also understand the full solution landscape. We have partnerships across the ecosystem, as you saw in the earlier image that I showed, which means that we can help you navigate VDI, DaaS, and browser-based deployments no matter the platform. We chose to launch our own hardware as well because too many clients were overpaying, paying a premium for brand name, especially when they want to increase specs. They get dinged by a big tax for that memory upgrade. So we wanted to offer something better, best-in-class enterprise-grade hardware at a much more reasonable cost. It's a lot like buying cereal at a grocery store. You can get the big brand, or you can get the store brand in the same, that's made in the same factory with the same ingredients for less. So that's how we see our hardware. In fact, our devices are manufactured by the world's #1 ThinClient producer, responsible for more units than HP or Dell. So from a quality standpoint, you're not sacrificing anything. You're getting performance, reliability, and expert guidance from ThinClient Direct without the brand name markup. So I hope everyone is following. As Salim said, if there's any questions, if there's anything you want to ask, please feel free to jot it down in the chat or in the Q&A section on Zoom. So just to cover quickly the main points of our approach. So we take a flexible OS agnostic approach, meaning we don't push specific operating system. Instead, we assess your environment and we recommend the best fit solution for you. Whether that's Linux-based or Windows, there's a variety of ways of attacking the situation. So our guidance is based on real needs: security, budget, feature requirement, platform compatibility. Every client is different. So depending on what your priorities are, we will help guide you to the right solution. We're using deep knowledge of the OS vendor ecosystem, including differences in capabilities, supporting models, licensing, cost structures, things that you might not know ahead of time. We can tell you, okay, this model will fit your situation better than another. Based on your existing VDI, DaaS, or enterprise browser setup, we recommend endpoint solutions that complement, not complicate your environment. And most importantly, we've seen what works and what doesn't. We've been in this for quite a while, so we'll help you avoid mistakes and save you time and effort from day one. Oop, I skipped a slide there. So security is our top priority, as it is for most clients. Our goal is to provide robust, comprehensive protection right out of the box. For Linux-based deployments, we offer read-only operating systems locked down to minimize risk and prevent unauthorized changes. So if we can keep you on a Linux-based operating system, this is ideal. It's not possible for every scenario. Sometimes we have clients that use apps locally, and also they connect to a VDI like Citrix or Omnissa. So in that situation, they really can't use a Linux-based application. So we need to propose some controls for Windows. In any case, we're looking for a secure, stable endpoint designed specifically for accessing cloud workspaces without unnecessary exposure. We want that the endpoint to not be a security risk. We also are looking at simplifying IT operation as a priority as well. Our goal is to help IT departments save time, energy, and cost. Depending on the solution, we either eliminate or significantly reduce the need for traditional endpoint security tools and patch management. One such benefit is zero-touch deployment. We can configure devices in advance. So when they arrive at a location, they simply connect to the network, talk to the central appliance, and the configuration is applied automatically. That way, the user is productive within minutes with no manual setup required by IT. So if you have a bank, multiple branches, you just send the device to that branch, they connect. As soon as they're recognized based on their IP, the configuration is applied. Call center in somewhere halfway across the world, same thing, no problem. This also applies to updates. When you want to update, and the updates, we're not talking about patch management and applying regular patches. When necessary, if you have Citrix or Omnissa or AVD updates, you're able to do it from a central location to really the device anywhere. Support is simplified too. Since the hardware and software are locked down and purpose-built, there are fewer variables to troubleshoot. They can't get into the registry key or things like that, so you don't have to worry about all that. And also the remote support is provided through the central management tools themselves. Altogether, these efficiencies help maximize your IT team's output, minimize downtime, and reduce the day-to-day friction of managing the endpoints. So there are also add-ons or third-party solutions in addition to the core solution. So we have a lot of collaborations, and we're able to optimize key workflows like printing, scanning, authenticating to your session, and multimedia, delivering a smooth, more responsive user experience. We also integrate advanced tools from top-tier partners to monitor and enhance endpoint performance, keeping systems efficient and productive. There's tools actually that we use even for to determine if, for example, your hardware is currently okay to use to repurpose and use it for accessing VDI, or what is the performance level or the resources level of the hardware that you need to purchase. So we have a lot of tools that we use to do these assessments, and we even offer some free assessments. And by leveraging this network, we simplify IT operations with intelligent, partner-driven solutions that improve management and reduce complexity. So as a result, you get a powerful, flexible ecosystem built to support secure, high-performing, and easy-to-manage endpoints. At ThinClient, at ThinClient Direct, we're committed to providing end-to-end support throughout the journey. We want to make sure that you have the right support mechanism where you feel like you have everything that you need. We manage all the technical and commercial coordination so you don't have to, making the process seamless from day one. From sizing assessments to proof of concept support or managed services, we can tailor the offering to what you need. We want to be your trusted partner. We want to guide you and support you every step of the way. Now, let's flip gears and look at the hardware portfolio that ThinClient Direct has. So currently we have 4 different series. The first being the 1 series. This is our most common device. I have it right here in my hand, if everyone can see it. So the 1 series is a quad core, as powerful as a ThinClient can get, with a fanless design. And this is suited for, pretty much 90% of the cases, this is the device we tend to recommend. Very small, fits right behind a monitor on a VESA mount. This tends to be our go-to. We have the 2 series, which offers high performance as well. And the big differentiator is this includes legacy ports. So for instance, if you need serial ports, you would want to look at the 2 series. We then have the I series, which is a more rugged device. It can adapt to extreme temperature fluctuations. So that could be a device for more of your manufacturing and warehouses. And finally, we have the all-in-one, which is a single unit with the monitor and the ThinClient, in one, which reduces clutter and saves space. So each device, has a specific purpose, allowing organizations to choose what fits best for their needs. We also pride ourselves in our hardware customization, which is an important part of what we offer. Each of our product series supports flexible configurations. You can choose memory, storage, Wi-Fi, any needs that align with your requirement. We also offer brand personalization. So in certain, there are some quantity requirements, but we can customize logo, engraving. We can even do things at the BIOS level, like if you need asset tags at purchase, if you need a specific image with your devices when we deliver them, we're able to do these customizations that larger hardware vendors usually don't offer. All of our devices are designed to be future-proof. Memory and storage components are never soldered to the motherboard. We don't solder anything. So if you want to open it, stick a bigger stick of RAM into the device, you're able to do so, after some time if your needs have changed. And also, if our standard models don't quite match what you're looking for, we'll work with you to find or build the right fit for you. We'll look for the right device that you need. Recently, we had a requirement for tablets. We don't really do tablets, but we help the client identify certain tablets that would solve his issue. We make it very easy to experience the devices. So we offer a 45-day free trial. We just ask that we have a brief call to understand your environment, identify the best hardware and operating system for your needs. Once we've identified, that, hey, you need a Series 1 with this specific operating system on it, we prepare it, we package it, and when we ship it to you at no cost. If it works well for you, you can keep it. If not, you just send this back to us with no questions asked. It's really a no pressure way to evaluate our solution in your own environment and on your own terms. But before we ever try to push any hardware, we want to make sure that you maximize the life out of what you currently have. So repurposing devices is a big thing that we do. Repurposing existing devices is often a smart way to extend the value of the current infrastructure and reduce unnecessary spending. You could just update the operating system on an older hardware. If you have i5s or i7 devices laying around, more than likely, as long as they're x86, you should be able to repurpose them and install a Linux-based operating system or Windows IoT on them, repurpose them, make them more secure, gain all the advantages of what ThinClient systems can bring. Of course, you're not going to have the energy savings because they're not going to be fanless, but you get everything else. So our goal is simple: help clients maximize the return on their existing technology, the return on investment with their existing technology before considering a hardware refresh. One thing worth highlighting is our expertise with Unicon. It's an endpoint operating system that's now part of the Citrix offering. Since many customers that have Citrix do get Unicon as part of their existing license, there's really a growing interest in deploying it across environments, and we highly recommend, because if you have Unicon, their Elux operating system running on the endpoint, you will be much more secure, and they have a very nice management tool with their Scout management. We have expertise on that. We can help with proof of concepts. We can help with designing the solution properly if this is something that you need support for. And also, our devices are tried and tested in Unicon environments. So if you're running Citrix Unicon, you may want to give it a try with our hardware. In terms of our presence, we do have our headquarters in the US. We're based out of Maryland, and we have a warehouse in Maryland where we keep stock. And then we also have stock out of Dubai, where we have our warehouse, and we have a distributor for the region there called DistiLogics. And at the same time, we do manufacture in China and can ship right from factory. So one of the advantages that we don't highlight often, but one that makes a real difference, is our ability to assist with logistics. making sure that devices get where they are needed, and helping clients stay on top of the licensing, the warranties, and all the other key operational details. So we can really help with keeping things easy. Um, so it's all part of making endpoint deployment and management easier, no matter where you're located. So that does it for me. I'm going to pass it back to you, Slim, to wrap things up, and maybe we can answer some of the questions that have been popping through.
That was awesome. Thank you, Omar. Thank you so much for walking us through that detailed overview. So, to wrap things up, this slide highlights the core benefits of working with ThinClient Direct. So, first of all, we offer flexible solutions. Our endpoint technologies are built to adapt to a wide range of business needs and environments. Second, security is always a top priority for everyone. Everything we deliver is designed to protect your data and reinforce your overall network posture. Third, our solutions are also future ready to scale and evolve as your organization grows. And last but not least, we take a customer first approach. We aim to be a true extension of your IT team, offering guidance, support, and long-term partnership you can count on. So that brings us to the Q&A session. So we'll open the floor. The floor is now open for questions. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat or write them down. For example, we'll start. Our first question, Omar, is: do we end up paying more for operating system solutions?
So it depends on the operating system solution. So when we have a project, if you're just repurposing your current hardware, you do usually have to go and pay for the operating system. And depending on the vendor, sometimes it's a subscription, sometimes it's a perpetual license that you pay for. If it's a perpetual license, then there's usually a maintenance fee that's due every year or 3 years or 5 years. Depending again on the solution. If you need Windows IoT, or if you need Windows 11, you need to pay for the operating system that you're moving to. When we sell hardware, we can bundle it all in. So when you order the hardware, once we've identified and you've tested, and you're satisfied with the operating system that's on it and with the management mechanisms that are offered, then we will deliver you the device with the operating system on it. But the cost, we make it very clear, the cost of the hardware versus the cost of the operating system. I hope that answers the question.
Great answer. Our second question is: what device specs do I need for repurposing?
Yeah, essentially, most of the tools out there require x86. You probably want, no less than 4 gigs of RAM. So those tend to be the initial. I mean, and as far as disk space, because the solutions don't use up much disk, 16 gigs of RAM is usually enough.
Mhm.
So that's the specs are very, very minimal. There are also tools like Stratodesk, for instance. They can repurpose Raspberry Pis. So if you can also opt for a operating system on a Raspberry Pi. We don't tend to go much the Raspberry Pi way, because we noticed that a lot of clients have a requirement for Teams and Zoom. And to date, it hasn't been, it hasn't, we haven't seen the results that are needed for success with Raspberry Pi. But who knows, maybe down the line, Raspberry Pi 6, and beyond, we might see some real improvements there. Raspberry Pi now can support 2 monitors. This is the max. So if you need three monitors or more, you would definitely need an x86 type of ThinClient.
Yeah. Another interesting question is: do you offer laptop ThinClients?
Good question. So as I said, our whole thing with hardware is we want to provide value. We want to make sure that we're providing a very cost-effective offering. Today, we're always exploring, what's out there. We haven't found a really good offer for laptops. Also, laptops, everybody has different requirements. Like some people want 14-inch, 15-inch, 16-inch monitors. Um, so it's very difficult for us to really settle on a ThinClient on a ThinClient laptop. Um, so we find that advising our clients on hardware that they can repurpose. So if you find the right form factor laptop, we can help you identify options. But there is some really good cost-effective laptops out there that you just repurpose, and they become excellent ThinClient laptops. So it's not really something that we've gotten into. If we find something very cost-effective, very interesting, it may be something that we add to the portfolio. We're also looking at mini PCs as well, because we're seeing a big trend now to run some apps locally or even layer apps on a local on an endpoint. So in those scenarios, we may need a little bit more processing power. So that's something that TCD might get involved with in the future as well.
Great. This is a question that you've already answered, but maybe you can do it in more detail. So can you guys support 3 monitors?
Yes. All of our, except for the I series, all of them support 4K monitors. So you can go up to a 4K resolution on 3 monitors.
Yeah. So that's the 1 series, the 2 series, and the all-in-one series.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Next question. Can I use your hardware with Stratodesk?
Of course, Stratodesk is one of the Linux-based operating systems that we work quite well with. So it's definitely one that we recommend to test out. It's very comprehensive, and as I said, Stratodesk supports x86, but they also support Raspberry Pi.
Great. Yeah, typical. Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. So does TCD ThinClient hardware come with a warranty?
Yes. So we, as a standard, we have a 3-year warranty with every piece of hardware that we sell. And if anything goes wrong, you can return the device to us, and we send you a new one. Typically, depending
Mhm.
on the quantities, we often give additional units when people purchase from us, just to be sure that there's something there that can quickly replace any defective unit. That rate is very, very low, by the way. Um, and and we can also extend it from 3 to 5 years as well. So if you need a 5-year warranty, it is possible to upgrade to 5-year warranty as well.
Awesome. And our last question of the night, is ThinClient Direct cost competitive?
Yes, actually, on the hardware side, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we are very cost and also feature competitive. That's more important because I hate to just consider cost, but we've put it in quite a few POCs against bigger brands, and we tend to come out on top. Um, so from a hardware perspective, definitely. From a software perspective, we usually work with partners. So a partner that sells Stratodesk, or a partner that sells iGel, or a partner that sells Z-Team or Prime, whatever operating system solution that we pin on. Usually we go through those partners, which usually they, depending on their partnership level, have special pricing from the vendors. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's you actually get the best of both worlds when you work with TCD. You're getting TCD behind you, but you also get the vendors behind you. And vendors, we have very good relationship with the vendors. So you have a whole team behind you, supporting you and making sure that the solution is effective.
Great. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you so much, Omar, for that was very insightful. Once
Sure,
again,
sure.
I want to thank Yeah, once again, I want to thank everyone for joining today's webinar. If you joined, thank you. If you couldn't join, I hope you join the next one. We also hope that you found it helpful. We tried to share all of our expertise, especially Omar's, obviously, since he is the expert in terms of TCD and endpoints. We'd be happy to discuss your specific requirements and offer personalized guidance. So if you could look down on the link, I think it's visible. Yeah. So you can book a session with us at any time by visiting thinklinedirect.com/meetings. So you make sure to do that. You pick a time, and we will make sure to contact you. Once again, thank you so much for joining. And we hope to see you in our next webinar. Next webinar will be on May 1st, I believe. It will be guided more towards the Gulf region. But even if you're not in that region or something, you can still, you are more than welcome to join and gain insights on TCD endpoints. Thank you so much, everyone, and we hope to see you on the next one.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.